Guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries again. It's me. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I'm going to cut to the chase really because there's a lot on this one. I don't know if I can keep it very long, but I'm going to try. As previewed, as promoted, this is all about all of the commercial work that I did as a kid up until my teenage years, which interestingly enough ended up in some financial interesting situations with family. We will get to that. Anyway, I'm going to read off the ones off the top of my head that I can remember. There are several I cannot, but I tried to do my best washing the dishes today. Um, and I was wondering if I could share those with you. So I'm going to read them off, like the 31 that I can remember. Morton Salt, Atari, KFC, Cool Whip, Country Time, Mountain Dew, B of A, Stanley Tools, two M&M's commercials, two McDonald's commercials, National Cheese Advisory Board, Minute Maid, Glass Plus, United Airlines, Home Federal, Pillsbury, Hormel, Chevrolet, Wiggle Worms, Crest, Pickup Sticks, the game, H&R Block, Denny's, Pepsi with Menudo, Kodak with Todd Bridges, Pepto Bismol, Xerox, Diet Coke with Whitney that we've covered, one Japanese restaurant, and I think that brings it to 31. So I'm going to pop through those 31 I can remember and give you some memorable memories from those 31. So I have to cram in a lot of memorable memories into a handful out of the 31 commercials that I did by age 12. So let's put that into context. By age 12, I had done most of these, and then several I did as a tween teen. Okay, so Morton Salt, that put me on the map. That was the first thing I did. The second thing I did after the Mountain Dew commercial when I was 6 years old. I was about six, I think I was still six, and I was the spokesman for Morton Salt themed school recital play, and I was like the MC, and it had something to do with Morton Salt somehow, you guys. I don't know, but it really kind of put me on the map. I was like the Morton Salt kid. So again, in this period between 6 and 12, I worked constantly. I don't want to blow my own horn, but I was in demand for commercials. Look where I ended up. It was like felonious drug dealers and everything in movies of the week. So number two, Atari. Atari was huge for me too. It was national, ran for a while. It's a cult classic. And we had a shit ton of dialogue in it, all down on a teleprompter, of course, because when you have a ton of dialogue and you're as close as I am, we are together, when you have an ad agency that is changing the dialogue with every take, they're rearranging taking sentences out, adding three more sentences, and I just really have to read the teleprompter each time. I don't have time to be rereading scripts. They're feeding the lines into the teleprompter. So that was, you can watch it. It's called Atari: The Compromise commercial, 5200 Super System, because in the end I get my hair cut, so I have to compromise to get my Atari 5200 system by cutting my hair. Okay, Cool Whip. Cool Whip was, oh, God, I don't know, like maybe the third commercial I did. Somehow we're going door to door, me and a couple other kids. I'm in the front, and we're tasting each neighbor lady's whipped cream and Cool Whip eventually. And the other two I spit out saying it tastes like shaving cream, whatever. Country Time Lemonade, that was me just kind of going through the fields with my parents, with little bridges and very picturesque little lake. Mountain Dew, that was my first commercial, shaking a can of Mountain Dew, sitting in a tree, saying, Yahoo, Mountain Dew. I think I was hammering something like I'm building a tree house or whatever. I don't know, whatever the hell. A B of A ad campaign I did, which coincidentally featured my dad, my real dad, as my dad in that Bank of America campaign. So that was odd. Stanley Tools. Stanley Tools, again, was a huge one for me. they also did like an ad campaign, print ad campaign in addition to the commercial, and it was me, and it was a surprise for mom when she got home that we installed a new garage door opener, and Butch Little Me is all putting it together with the dad and whatever. And oh, big surprise! You can open your door automatically now. Woohoo! Does that date me or what? It was a big surprise to her for me to hand her a box to push a button to make her garage door open. Okay, M&Ms. Now I signed on to a campaign for M&Ms to do two separate M&Ms commercials under the Thanks Mom campaign, which was, blah, blah, blah. Here's some candy. Thanks, Mom. Here's some candy to another kid. Thanks, Mom. Here's some candy to another kid. Thanks, Mom. And then the second campaign was Easter themed. And again, I'm painting eggs. Thanks, Mom, for candy. Thanks, Mom. Boy, Mom's like crazy with the candy. She's a walk-in Halloween. Okay, so then my big break, the thing that put me on the map really in commercials that got me working was that I started in your first Big Mac commercial. So when Big Macs hit the market, I was the poster boy. And when you all hear from those old ads, jingles, ads, dialogue from YouTube or whatever you want, and it says two off beef patty, special sauce, cheese, pickles, onions on a set of sesame seed bun, I was the first to mangle those words. They fed these lines to me, first time ever for an actor of that whole campaign, saying that jingly words. I was in the trailer, and they brought a full page of those ingredients to me, and it gave me about 3 minutes to look them over, and then they took them away. And then they sat me in front of the camera, and they said to recite the ingredients. And I really tried my best. And I screwed up time and again, which is what they wanted. And they took the best pieces of all those screw ups, spread them across your first Big Mac McDonald's commercial. So go YouTube that. That is McDonald's commercial, jingle commercial 74, but it had jingle in it. So that'll come up for McDonald's commercials. National Cheese Advisory Board, I discussed before. I have discussed that in the preview. I had a director in front of 3 embarrassed ad execs for the National Cheese Advisory Board, getting me to laugh and giggle while I was breaking apart a grilled cheese sandwich and trying to stomach the damn thing before I spit it out in a bucket after every take by yelling in my face that he wanted me to imagine a penis and testicles. And then he changed his mind, and started hollering at me to imagine a vagina in flagrante. So, I don't know, dude, well, whatever. I mean, I don't even know where to start with that one. Do you? So, and at that time, we're 16. Minute Maid, I did a Minute Maid commercial, dancing around in a backyard, whatever. Glass Plus, I was a kid with another girl. United Airlines, I was there with my parents. And I kept calling them, oh, hi, Mom, hi, Dad, all damn sure. It drove them crazy. We're about halfway through. Number whatever of the whatever. I was in those Home Federal commercials with Bob Hope. He stands in front of a house, and like I'm the kid that comes home from World War II, and I don't know kind of what the idea was, but he did a bunch of Home Federal commercials, and I was in them. Let's talk about the Pillsbury Doughboy boy, Disco Boy. Well, mind you, first, I had made a shit ton of money by this time. Okay, this is rolling around 12 when I met the Disco Boy, eating cookies on TV. My dad had taken me to the Screen Actors Guild by the time I was 11, I think. And my parents were divorced. It was contentious. And he brought me there to where the bookkeeping area tells you how much you've earned to date, because I've been SAG member since 71. And he pointed to me on the ledger that I had made $30,000 as of 1978 in commercials alone, which ended up buying half my house. Surprise, unbeknownst to me, we're living in my house in West Hollywood. But the Disco Boy, oh my God, you guys. So I got this Pillsbury commercial. Believe it or not, I was on a football team. And then there was the quarterbacky guy, and he was about my age, but well built for a 12-year-old, I guess. And we go in, we eat the damn friggin' cookies in the kitchen, and then we're unwinding from our football game. And during break, I just had such a mad crush on this kid. It was like I was delirious. I was crushing on him so hard. Why? Because this good-looking, cute guy in this McDonald's commercial that I'm watching eating cookies tells me how much he likes disco music. Now at 12, forget it. I was, I had been in the studio when Donna Summer, like created, Enough is Enough. And I was like disco, like, just explosion disco brain. And this to me was a freaking amazing that this cute kid, quarterbacky kid in this bus full of cookie eating, football playing kids liked disco. And he took me aside during breaks and he did like football tosses to me, of all things, me. And we're just talking about like Cheryl Lynn, like Star Love was a big disco song at the time. And I realized, I realized in that commercial that I was gay. Those feelings for that, wow, those feelings for that actor in that Pillsbury Doughboy cookie, chocolate chip cookies. I came home feeling, wow, I'm gay as a blade, man. If I feel that way about other guys, it doesn't get any more convincing. So there you go. Commercials in Hollywood. Down the line. Anyway, of course, I did Thanksgiving, for Hormel. I was the kid at Thanksgiving. I was the first Chevy Citation commercial, which is an ancient, disgusting car. And me and my mom and dad bought the first Citation out of the showroom. Ugh, it's like a orangey gold. Again, driving through the sunset, whatever. Wiggle worms. Wiggle worms were this really, really early game where you throw these pieces, these wiggly pieces of metal that are painted like worms, and you put them in this boxing ring, and there's this metal thing in the middle, like this thing coming out, and the board starts shaking, and so all the worms start quivering. And it's whatever worm quivers to the thing in the middle and like hits it or twists around it, you're the winner. Whatever. Me and two girls. Crest commercial. We've talked about my Crest commercial. Mr. Goodwin, the Crest commercial with Arthur O'Connell, famous old actor. He was in Bus Stop with Marilyn Monroe, etc. Well, he was the Mr. Goodwin guy. And I went in, determined, Mr. Goodwin, this is why Crest works. And from that, Ted Kotcheff, a famous comedic director, like way back, did Fun with Dick and Jane. He saw that commercial on television and he said, hire him to be Jane Fonda's son in Fun with Dick and Jane. I never went on an audition. I got a call that I was booked from that Crest commercial. Whatever. Talking about games. I did pickup sticks. Pickup sticks were another game where you threw a bunch of stuff. I don't even remember. What is it? You throw sticks and you pick them up. There you go. I don't know. There's some way you win by picking up the sticks. They're like these they look like long plastic toothpicks, about this big. H&R Block, I'm handing somebody a clipboard and chatting with them about business. Denny's, I was a Denny's kid, like the Denny's family kid. All I remember is that the home economists on the set, home economists were the ones that made the food look all tasty, like has the 16 waffles on the table, all glazed and waiting to go on camera. Don't get near them, God forbid, you'll jingle the waffles. So we were always instructed very carefully in those Denny's commercials, do not touch the food, do not eat the food, do not put a fork in the food. Not only you'll mess up their prettiness, but it's covered in like probably shellac and rubber cement. I don't know. So don't touch the food. Don't ever touch them when you're shooting. I did a Pepsi commercial, very popular Pepsi commercial with Menudo. Now, if you're older or younger, well, depending, you'll know who Menudo is. It was this rotating group of kids, Latin kids, male, that were just like the tiger beat of like forever at that time. This was in the 80s, early-ish 80s. Again, Menudo, oh my God, we were dancing down the street in the back lot, Universal back lot, where they did like, Gone with the Wind, Back to the Future. And we're dancing around and Menudo's dancing around. For Pepsi, yay. You know who was in one of those? La Vida Loca, what was that guy? Anyway, he was one of Menudo. And now it's going to drive me crazy. Kodak. I was in a big running Kodak campaign with Todd Bridges. You all know Todd Bridges from Different Strokes and Fish, which was a takeoff on Barney Miller. He was very popular at the time. They had us running all over Universal Studios, at the shark attraction with Jaws, and at the Western whatever, they drowned the town, I don't know, whatever. And we're running all over the attractions. Me and Todd Bridges and I, with me, um, just taking pictures of Kodak camera with Kodak film and Kodak cameras, of course. What else? Um, I did a Pepto Bismol commercial that was, again, a big money maker for me. I don't know, 17, 16. I'm in a college, I'm again a freshman at college, and I'm taking a test and I get indigestion, like I'm going to have like explosive diarrhea. So what did Sean do? He shows up at the set early in the morning and on an empty stomach, and he orders one of those really greasy, like, breakfast burritos. And I chow that down, and guess what? I feel like shit. So they got it on camera. Bingo, Pepto Bismol, perfect Pepto Bismol commercial. Last time I was caught on camera was actually a Xerox commercial. I can't find it online anywhere, but the campaign was from that musical, Sunday in the Park with George. And whatever, the song was really popular at the time, and the campaign was built around that song. Putting it together, something like that. And it was really cute. I mean, it was fun doing that. Like, the director had me walking down Hollywood Boulevard with all the lights behind me, having picked up Chinese food for my other Xerox coworkers. Like, we're so high tech and so yuppie, checking into all this Xerox technology. And I'm coming back with all this Chinese food for everybody. And he kept wanting me to spill it, but almost not spill it and catch it, which I did perfectly. And a couple times they almost tumbled, but oh, I caught the Chinese food. So that looked really cute on camera. Otherwise, it was a very tasteful commercial. I liked that commercial, actually. Last time Sean was on camera was that Xerox commercial. Diet Coke wasn't all that long before, and we did, I think, a whole show. I think, did we? Yeah, we did a whole show on my Whitney Houston Diet Coke commercial. Anyway, I was there making Golding time with her, literally and figuratively, because we did 16 hours on the set of E.T., believe it or not, on the soundstage where the ship was, not where the house was. For 16 hours doing a Diet Coke commercial, as you've seen. She bursts out of a million monitors and starts singing Diet Coke, and I'm standing there right next to her for 16 hours. Not a problem. Wasn't complaining. Didn't kick that out of bed. Um, then finally, I did some weird ass commercial thingy that was for the Japanese market. Apparently, back then, you had like these cafes, like these youngster, like, I don't know, go have boba cafe, whatever, but in the 1980s. And they watched these little novellas, these little mini, like soap operas. Like, oh, the boy comes and the boy gets sick and the girl's crying, and then they meet at school and they love each other. And so I was in this like internet cafe type play, not internet, my God, this is like, the Periclean age compared to internet. And so there's an Asian girl and we're in love. No, it was a Caucasian girl, and we were in love, and I don't know. All I know is I had pneumonia when I made this thing, but I needed that money so bad, and I pushed myself through that, and the girl did not get pneumonia. Well, she wouldn't have gotten pneumonia, but anyway, so that's 31 of them. I wish I could think of the other 31. I really tried. There were some that were like officey ones. I wasn't going to name them unless they were the real names. But I used to have on my resume, not that they cared, at the bottom, um, over 40 commercials, over 40 television commercials available upon request. Like, who the hell's gonna? Oh, by the way, after your whole resume, let me see some of those commercials. But whatever. My mom was weird. She made my first resume. I don't know. So those are my total commercial stories. I'll never bother you with commercial stories again. We've covered 30 to 40 of them, minus 9 of them, and I hope you enjoyed them. I'm sure I kept you here way too long talking about commercials. But those are my commercials, some of which put me on the map. And like I said, that was my bread and butter. It was the last thing I got rid of. Even for keeps, tanking my career, just woo, free fall. I was still holding on those commercials. Why? Because even through all those bad times, even through all that 14-year-old committing felonies and raising hell and doing all kinds of crazy ass shit at 14 and all of these, I still worked in commercials. So in all that crap that you hear about me all the time, I was able to crawl through my bathroom window at 4 o'clock in the morning, shower, get dressed, and go off to my television commercial that afternoon. My dad always told me, you're either going to come out of this a Superman or a vegetable, when he used to talk about the industry. Well, I guess I'm a Superman for what it's worth. Okay, thanks for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. And looking forward to tomorrow, because again, my calendar has 8 shows lined up. I know, I'm sorry guys. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.